The great crystal halls of Viridian Prime buzzed with angry voices. 47 different alien species had gathered for the most important meeting in galactic history. Their representatives sat in a massive circle, each one more frustrated than the last. Ambassador Zephix raised his crystal arm to speak. His body caught the light from 3 suns and threw rainbow patterns across the walls. "We have waited long enough," he said, his voice like breaking glass. "The humans have been locked in their star system for 300 years. They are probably even weaker now than before." Murmurs of agreement filled the hall. The hegemony. Representative, a tall gray being with 6 arms, stood up next. "My grandfather led the first fleet to their world," Admiral Kethmore said. "They destroyed every ship with their primitive weapons, but that was long ago. They cannot have learned, much while trapped in their cage." The Voidwalkers, strange beings that looked like living shadows, said nothing. They never spoke during these meetings. Their representative just watched from the corner with eyes like dying stars. "The humans are dangerous," said the small voice of Ambassador Quillix from the Insectoid Collective. Her 4 wings buzzed nervously. "When we first found them, they were using metal bullets and chemical rockets. Yet they destroyed 1,000 of our most advanced ships." "Exactly why we must act now," Zephix replied, "before they become even more dangerous. The quarantine field has kept them trapped for 3 centuries. They have had no contact with the galaxy. No new technology, no trade. They must have grown weak and backward." The debate had been going on for days. Every species had an opinion about what to do with the humans. Some wanted to keep them locked up forever. Others wanted to try talking to them again. But most wanted them gone completely. Admiral Kethmore pulled up a hologram showing the human star system. "Look at this," he said. "Our long-range sensors show only primitive radio signals. Their ships still use fusion drives. They have not even tried to break through the quarantine field. They have accepted their prison, or they are planning something," Quillix whispered, but her small voice was lost in the larger discussion. The vote was called. One by one, each species cast their decision. The Crystalline Dominion voted for war. The Hegemony voted for war. The Gas Giant Collective voted for war. Species after species agreed that the humans had to be destroyed. Only the Voidwalkers remained silent when their turn came. Their representative simply shook his head and said nothing. 46 votes for. "Operation Cleansing Dawn," announced the council speaker. 1 abstention. The motion passes. Admiral Kethmore felt satisfaction flow through his 6 arms. Finally, his family would have revenge for what the humans had done. "I volunteer to lead this operation," he said. "My grandfather's honor demands it." The council agreed. Within hours, messages went out across the galaxy. Every major military force was asked to contribute ships and weapons. The response was overwhelming. The hegemony brought their reality-warping cannons. The Crystalline Dominion provided ships that could phase through solid matter. The gas giants sent vessels that could create miniature black holes. Even the usually peaceful plant networks offered their bioships that could grow new weapons during battle. In total, 12,000 ships gathered at the edge of human space. It was the largest military force in galactic history. Weapons that could crack planets, shields that could stop stars from exploding. Technology so advanced that it seemed like magic. Admiral Kethmore stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the massive fleet spread out before him. Each ship represented the best that galactic civilization could offer. The humans would stand no chance. "Admiral," his communications officer called out. "Something strange is happening." Kethmore turned to look at the main screen. It showed the quarantine field around the human star system. For 300 years, that energy barrier had been solid and bright. It had kept the humans trapped like animals in a cage. Now it was fading. "Is it being attacked?" Kethmore asked. "No, sir. There are no weapons firing at it. No explosions. It is just disappearing. The massive energy field that had surrounded the human system began to shimmer and fade. Like morning mist touched by sunlight, it simply dissolved into nothing. "How is that possible?" Kethmore demanded. "That field was powered by a dozen star cores. It should have lasted for 10,000 years. Unknown, Admiral, but it is definitely gone." Then the sensors began screaming warnings. Something was moving in the human system, something big. "Report!" Kethmore shouted. "Sir, we are detecting one ship leaving the human star system. It is very large." "How large?" The sensor operator's voice shook. "The size of a small moon, sir. But it is moving like a fighter craft." Kethmore stared at the display. The human ship was indeed massive, but it moved with impossible grace. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The ship appeared as a dark shadow against the stars. "What are its weapons signatures?" he asked. "We cannot detect any weapons, sir. In fact, we cannot detect much of anything. Our sensors seem to slide off its hull." "Impossible. No ship can hide from our technology." But even as he said it, Kethmore felt a cold fear growing in his chest. This was not what they had expected. The humans were supposed to be weak and primitive. This ship looked like nothing he had ever seen. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "the human ship is broadcasting on all frequencies. Put it through." A human voice filled the bridge. It was calm and confident. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Retribution. To the fleet gathered at our border, you have exactly one chance to turn around and leave. We have been waiting for you." Kethmore activated his own communicator. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Kethmore of the Galactic Council Fleet. You are surrounded and outnumbered 12,000 to 1. Surrender immediately and your deaths will be quick." The human's laughter came through the speakers like ice water. "Admiral, you have no idea what you are dealing with. 300 years ago, your people made a mistake. You tried to cage humanity. Instead, you gave us time to grow." "You are primitives with chemical rockets and metal bullets," Kethmore replied. "Our sensors show no advanced technology on your ship." "Your sensors," the human said, "are not advanced enough to understand what you are looking at. You had 300 years to leave us alone. Now you get to see what we did with that time." The TE. Communication ended. On the display, the human ship continued its approach. It was not slowing down. It was not changing course. It was accelerating directly toward the center of the galactic fleet. "All ships," Kethmore broadcast to his fleet, "prepare for battle. The humans want to fight 12,000 ships with one vessel. Let us show them the price of arrogance." But as he watched the dark ship approach, something strange began to happen. The space around it started to ripple like water. The stars in the background began to dance and shimmer. Reality itself seemed to bend near the human vessel. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Kethmore felt true fear. Whatever the humans had become during their long isolation, it was not what the galaxy had expected. The dark ship continued its approach, and the sky began to darken around it. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Retribution and watched the enemy fleet grow larger on her screens. 12,000 ships spread across space like a deadly constellation. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy cities. Together, they could crack planets in half. She was not impressed. "Darwin," she said to the ship's artificial intelligence, "show me their formation." "Certainly, Captain," the AI replied in a voice that sounded almost human. "They have arranged themselves in standard battle groups, very predictable. Their flagship appears to be that large hegemony vessel in the center." Chen nodded. The aliens were using tactics that were 300 years old. They had learned nothing during humanity's isolation. But then again, they had not needed to learn. The rest of the galaxy had been peaceful under their rule. "Status. Report," she ordered. "All systems optimal," replied Commander Torres from his position at the tactical station. "The crew is ready. The ship is ready. We have been waiting for this day for a very long time. Chen looked around her bridge. 2,000 humans served aboard the Retribution, and every one of them represented the best of what humanity had become. They were faster, stronger, and smarter than their ancestors, but more than that, they were connected to the ship in ways the aliens could never understand. "Remember," she said to her crew, "they think we are still the same species they met 300 years ago. They expect metal bullets and chemical rockets. They have no idea what we have become." The truth was almost impossible to believe. When the aliens had trapped humanity in their own star system, they thought they were preventing human expansion. Instead, they had created a pressure cooker that forced humanity to evolve or die, and humanity had chosen to evolve. "Incoming transmission from the alien fleet," reported Communications Officer Kim. "The Admiral wants to talk again." "Put him through." Admiral Kethmore's voice filled the bridge. "Human vessel, this is your final warning. Our combined firepower can destroy entire star systems. You cannot hope to fight us all." "Admiral," Chen replied calmly, "let me explain something to you. 300 years ago, humanity was indeed primitive. We used gunpowder and nuclear fission. We fought with metal and fire, but you made one crucial mistake." "And what was that?" "You assumed we would stay primitive. You locked us away and forgot about us. But humans do not stay the same when pressured. We adapt, we grow, we become whatever we need to become to survive." She gestured to her tactical officer. "Show him what our ship looks like to their most advanced sensors." On the alien Admiral's screens, the Retribution appeared as a fuzzy, impossible shape. Sometimes it looked solid. Sometimes it seemed to phase in and out of existence. The ship's true size and capabilities were hidden behind layers of technology that the galaxy had never imagined. "Your sensors cannot read our ship because it exists partially outside normal space," Chen explained. "Our hull is grown from crystallized dark matter. Our engines manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. And our weapons, well, calling them weapons is not quite accurate." "Impossible," the Admiral replied. "No species has ever achieved such technology." "No species has ever been forced to achieve it," Chen corrected. "You gave us 300 years of isolation, 300 years of pressure, 300 years to push beyond every limit we thought we had." Behind her, Dr. Elena Vasquez stepped forward. She was the ship's chief science officer, and her mind had been enhanced far beyond normal human capabilities. She could process information faster than most alien computers. "Captain," she said, "their weapons are powering up. They are preparing to fire." Chen smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Let them. They need to learn." On the alien flagship, Admiral Kethmore was growing desperate. His sensors still could not get a clear reading on the human ship. Every time they tried to lock onto it, the readings changed. One moment it appeared to be solid metal. The next moment it seemed to be made of pure energy. "Fire a warning shot," he ordered. "Use the quantum disruptors." A beam of pure destruction lanced out from his flagship. It was a weapon designed to unmake matter at the atomic level. It could cut through any known armor like paper. The beam struck the Retribution and simply disappeared. "What happened?" Kethmore demanded. "Unknown, sir. The beam just stopped existing when it hit their hull." Chen's voice came through the communicators again. "Nice try, Admiral, but you are using three-dimensional weapons against a ship that exists in 11 dimensions. Your attack could not have hurt us any more than a raindrop could hurt a mountain." "Impossible!" Kethmore shouted. "Nothing can exist in 11 dimensions." "Human consciousness can," Chen replied. "When you enhanced our minds enough, we learned to perceive reality as it truly is. Not just the 3 dimensions you can see, but all of them. Our ship exists wherever we need it to exist." The truth was even stranger than Chen made it sound. During their isolation, humanity had not just built better technology, they had evolved their minds to interface directly with quantum reality. Every human on the Retribution was connected to the ship through quantum entanglement. They did not just operate the vessel, they were part of it. "Dr. Vasquez," Chen said, "explain to them what they are really facing." Dr. Vasquez activated her own communicator. "Admiral, your species still thinks in terms of ships and weapons and armor. You build machines to fight other machines. But we took a different path. We asked ourselves what humans could become if we stopped pretending to be limited by the laws of physics." "The laws of physics cannot be broken," the Admiral protested. "They cannot be broken," Vasquez agreed, "but they can be understood. And when you truly understand them, you realize that consciousness itself is a fundamental force of the universe. Sufficiently advanced human intuition can influence probability at the quantum level." She gestured to the crew around her. "Every person on this ship has been enhanced beyond what you would recognize as human. Our minds work faster than your computers. Our bodies are stronger than your metals, and our consciousness is connected directly to the quantum foam that underlies all reality." "You are claiming to be gods," Kethmore said. "No," Chen replied. "We are claiming to be what humanity becomes when it stops accepting limits. We are what you created when you tried to cage us." The Retribution continued its steady approach toward the alien fleet. As it moved, space itself began to bend around it. The ship's gravitational field was so intense that light curved in its presence. Stars in the background appeared to shift and dance. "Admiral," Chen said, "you have one last chance to withdraw. We do not want to hurt you, but we will not allow you to threaten humanity ever again." "Never!" Kethmore shouted. "All ships open fire! Destroy that vessel!" 12,000 alien ships unleashed their weapons at once. Plasma beams, quantum torpedoes, reality-warping cannons, and weapons that could fold space itself all targeted the single human ship. The barrage was bright enough to be seen from neighboring star systems. It carried enough energy to vaporize entire moons. It was the concentrated firepower of the most advanced military force in galactic history, and it accomplished absolutely nothing. The Retribution sailed through the attack like a shark swimming through a school of fish. Weapons that should have destroyed it simply bent around its hull. Energy beams that could cut through neutronium were absorbed into its dark matter armor. "Their weapons cannot touch us," Chen announced to her crew. "Show them what we can do in return." The human ship did not fire back. Instead, it simply existed where some of the alien vessels happened to be. Reality shifted around the Retribution, and 12 alien ships simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not vaporized. They were edited out of reality itself. "How?" Admiral Kethmore whispered as he watched 12 of his ships vanish without a trace. Chen's voice was sad now. "You should have left us alone, Admiral. Now you get to learn what humans become when you corner them." 300 years earlier, the day the quarantine field activated, Dr. Elena Vasquez's ancestor had been a simple university professor teaching physics to undergraduate students. She had used chalk and blackboards to explain the basic laws of motion. Her greatest dream was to understand how gravity worked. Now her descendant stood on the bridge of a ship that bent gravity like clay. The change had not happened overnight. It had taken generations of pressure, isolation, and the desperate need to survive. When the aliens trapped humanity in their own solar system, they had unknowingly created the perfect conditions for rapid evolution. At first, humans had tried to break through the quarantine field using conventional technology. They built bigger rockets, more powerful nuclear weapons, and stronger materials. Nothing worked. The alien barrier absorbed every attack and grew stronger. "We cannot go through it," the scientists of that time had said. "We cannot go around it, so we must go beyond it." That was when humanity made its first great leap. Instead of trying to break the physical barrier, they began to explore the nature of consciousness itself. If they could not escape with their bodies, perhaps they could escape with their minds. The breakthrough came 50 years into the quarantine. A team of neuroscientists discovered that human consciousness was not just contained within the brain, it was connected to the quantum field that existed throughout the universe. Every human mind was already touching the fundamental forces of reality. They just had not known how to use that connection. The aliens think consciousness is just electrical signals in meat, Dr. Sarah Kim had explained to her research team. She was Elena Vasquez's great-grandmother and the first human to successfully interface with quantum reality. But consciousness is actually a force of nature, like gravity or electromagnetism. We just need to learn to amplify it. The first experiments were dangerous. Many volunteers died when their minds tried to process information that human brains were not designed to handle. But gradually, they learned to enhance human neural capacity. Genetic modifications, cybernetic implants, and quantum processors all worked together to expand what the human mind could perceive and control. By the 100th year of quarantine, the first generation of enhanced humans was born. They could perceive 11 dimensions instead of 3. They could process information faster than any computer the old world had built, and most importantly, they could influence probability at the quantum level through focused intention. We are not breaking the laws of physics, Elena's grandmother had explained to her when she was young. We are learning to use laws that most species never discover. Reality is much more flexible than anyone realizes. The second great leap came when humanity realized that enhanced individuals could link their consciousness together. One enhanced human was impressive. 1,000 enhanced humans working as a unified mind were godlike. This was the secret of the retribution. The ship was not just a vessel carrying 2,000 crew members. It was a single organism composed of human consciousness, quantum technology, and crystallized reality itself. Every person on this ship is connected to every other person, Elena explained to the newest crew member as they watched the alien fleet prepare for battle. We share thoughts, memories, and intentions. When we decide to move the ship, it is not one person pressing buttons, it is 2,000 minds willing the vessel to move. The young man looked confused. But how is that possible? Because consciousness is the most powerful force in the universe, Elena replied. Most species never learn this because they never need to. They build machines to do their thinking for them. But when you enhance consciousness itself, you can accomplish things that seem impossible. She gestured to the view screen where the alien fleet was spreading out in attack formation. Those ships are built with metal and controlled by computers. They are limited by the materials they are made from and the programming they follow. But our ship is built from will itself, shaped by intention, and powered by the combined consciousness of humanity's greatest minds. The third great leap had come when humanity learned to manipulate matter at the quantum level. Instead of building technology, they learned to grow it. The hull of the Retribution was not assembled in a factory. It was crystallized from dark matter using focused human intention. We asked ourselves a simple question, Elena continued. What could humans become if we stopped accepting the limits that other species take for granted? What if we refused to believe that consciousness was separate from reality? The answer had transformed humanity into something unrecognizable. They still looked human on the outside, though they were faster, stronger, and more resilient than their ancestors. But their minds were connected to forces that most species considered to be myths. "Captain," called out Navigator Williams, "the alien fleet is beginning their attack run." Captain Chen nodded. "Show them the difference between what they built and what we became." The Retribution did not move in the conventional sense. Instead, it simply chose to exist in a different location. Space folded around the ship, and it appeared 3,000 kilometers closer to the alien fleet without crossing the distance between. On the alien flagship, Admiral Kethmore watched his sensors go wild. How did they move so fast? Our instruments show no propulsion signature. They did not move, his science officer reported. They translated their existence from one point to another without occupying the space in between. That is impossible. But even as he spoke, 12 more alien ships simply ceased to exist. The Retribution had not fired weapons at them. It had simply decided that the space they occupied would be empty instead. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we are receiving a data transmission from the human ship. It appears to be historical records." On screens throughout the alien fleet, images began to appear. They showed humanity's evolution during the 3 centuries of quarantine, the first enhanced humans learning to perceive beyond 3 dimensions, the development of quantum consciousness interfaces, the growth of technology that responded to thought rather than mechanical control. "This is what isolation did to us," Captain Chen's voice accompanied the images. "You thought you were preventing us from spreading across the galaxy. Instead, you forced us to spread across reality itself." The images showed humans learning to manipulate probability, to communicate across vast distances through quantum entanglement, and to build ships that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "We did not want to become this," Chen continued. "We would have been content to explore the galaxy with metal ships and chemical rockets. But you made survival impossible unless we transcended every limit we thought we had." The final images showed the construction of the Retribution. Not built in shipyards, but grown through the combined will of enhanced human consciousness. Every atom of its hull placed precisely where 2,000 minds agreed it should exist. "You created us," Chen said as the images faded. "Every enhanced human on this ship exists because you forced humanity to evolve or die. We chose to evolve." Admiral Kethmore stared at the tactical display as more of his ships vanished. The human vessel moved through his fleet like a force of nature, untouchable and unstoppable. "How do we fight something like this?" he whispered. His science officer's voice was shaking. "I do not think we can, Admiral. They are using consciousness itself as a weapon. Our technology cannot defend against something that operates outside the normal laws of physics." "All ships," Kethmore broadcast, "retreat to safe distance. We need to reassess our strategy." But as his fleet began to pull back, Captain Chen's voice filled the communication channels one more time. "Admiral, there is no safe distance from what humanity has become. We exist wherever we choose to exist. We can reach anywhere in the galaxy without crossing the space between. And we remember every ship that came here to destroy us." The sky around the alien fleet grew darker as the Retribution's gravitational field intensified. Stars began to dim as the ship's presence bent light itself. "You wanted to see what humans had become during our isolation," Chen said. "Now you know. The question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge?" Admiral Kethmore had fought in 17 major space battles during his long military career. He had seen weapons that could tear holes in reality and shields that could stop exploding stars. He thought he understood what war looked like in the age of advanced technology. He was wrong. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. It was not really a battle at all. It was more like watching a force of nature work its way through his fleet. The Retribution moved through, space like a dancer performing a deadly ballet. It flowed between his ships with impossible grace, never hurrying, never seeming to exert effort. But wherever it passed, alien vessels simply ceased to exist. "Tactical report!" Kethmore shouted over the alarms filling his bridge. "We have lost 400 ships in the first 10 minutes, his tactical officer reported. "The human vessel is not using any weapons we can detect. Our ships are just disappearing. Show me the sensor readings." The main screen displayed data that made no sense. The Retribution appeared to be in multiple locations at once. Sometimes the sensors showed it as a solid object, Other times it seemed to be made of pure energy. Most disturbing of all, it occasionally appeared to not exist at all while still destroying ships. "How can something that does not exist destroy our vessels?" Kethmore demanded. "Unknown, Admiral. Our best theory is that they are operating in dimensions we cannot perceive. They may be attacking us from directions that do not exist in normal space." Captain Chen's voice filled the bridge again. "Admiral, you are trying to fight a three-dimensional war against opponents who exist in 11 dimensions. It is like trying to attack a bird with arrows that can only fly along the ground." "All ships, focus fire on the human vessel," Kethmore ordered. "Every weapon, maximum power." 5,000 alien ships turned their guns on the Retribution and fired at once. The combined attack carried enough energy to crack a planet's crust. Plasma beams, quantum torpedoes, gravitational cannons, and reality warping devices all targeted the single human ship. The barrage was so bright it could be seen from neighboring star systems. Space itself seemed to catch fire as the most powerful. Weapons in the galaxy discharged their fury, and the Retribution sailed through it all without slowing down. "Impossible!" Kethmore screamed. "Nothing can survive that much firepower." "Their hull is not just deflecting our weapons," his science officer reported. "The attacks are being absorbed into what appears to be folded space-time. They are using the fabric of reality itself as armor." Captain Chen's laughter came through the speakers. "You still do not understand. We are not fighting you with a ship. We are fighting you with willpower made manifest in physical reality. Every attack you make just proves how limited your thinking has become." The truth was even stranger than Chen made it sound. The Retribution was not dodging the alien weapons. It was choosing not to be harmed by them. 2,000 enhanced human minds, working in perfect unity, simply decided that the enemy attacks would have no effect. "Dr. Vasquez," Chen said to her science officer, "show them what human willpower looks like when it is focused properly." Elena. Vasquez placed her hand on the quantum interface console. Her enhanced consciousness connected with the ship's systems and the minds of every crew member aboard. Together, they reached out with their collective will and began to reshape reality. Around the alien fleet, space itself began to bend and twist. What had been empty vacuums suddenly became solid barriers. What had been solid ships suddenly became empty space. The laws of physics began to respond to human intention rather than mathematical constants. "By the 7 suns," whispered Admiral Kethmore as he watched reality warp around his fleet. "They are rewriting the universe itself." "Not rewriting," Chen corrected, "just using capabilities that most species never discover. Consciousness is the fundamental force that shapes reality. When you enhance it enough and focus it properly, you can convince the universe to work differently." 100 more alien ships vanished as the Retribution moved through Kethmore's formation. But these ships did not just disappear. They were transformed. Their matter was converted to pure energy and absorbed into the human vessel's dark matter hull. "They are eating our ships," the tactical officer reported in horror. "Converting matter to energy and incorporating it into their vessel's structure," Dr. Vasquez's voice explained calmly. "We are not destroying your ships. We are recycling them. Waste not, want not, as our ancestors used to say." Admiral Kethmore watched helplessly as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled. The human ship moved through his forces like a hungry predator, consuming vessels that had taken decades to build and generations to perfect. "All ships, full retreat," he finally ordered. "Maximum speed, scatter formation." But escape proved impossible. The Retribution was not limited by the speed of light like conventional vessels. It existed partially outside normal space-time, which meant it could appear anywhere it chose without traveling the distance between points. As alien ships tried to flee, the human vessel would simply manifest in front of them, not moving to intercept them, but choosing to exist where they were going before they arrived. "There is nowhere to run," Captain Chen announced to the fleeing fleet. "We exist in 11 dimensions. No matter which direction you go in the 3 dimensions you can perceive, you are still moving through the 8 dimensions we control." One by one, the fastest ships in the galaxy found themselves face to face with an impossible opponent. The Retribution did not chase them. It was simply there waiting whenever they thought they had found safety. "Surrender!" Kethmore broadcast to his remaining ships. "All vessels, stand down! Cease all hostile actions!" The surviving ships, fewer than 300 out of the original 12,000, drifted to a stop in space. Their crews sat in stunned silence, trying to understand what they had witnessed. The Retribution moved to the center of the defeated fleet and simply hovered there. Its dark hull seemed to absorb light from the surrounding stars, creating a pocket of deeper darkness in the void of space. "Admiral," Captain Chen said, "you came here to destroy humanity because you thought we were dangerous when we were primitive. What do you think we are now that we have evolved beyond your ability to comprehend?" Kethmore stared at the human vessel on his screen. His fleet, the largest military force in galactic history, had been reduced to scattered survivors in less than 2 hours, and the enemy had not even seemed to be trying very hard. "What? What do you want from us?" he asked. "We want you to go home," Chen replied. "We want you to tell the Galactic Council what you found here, and we want you to make sure they understand that the quarantine is over." "The quarantine is over?" "Yes, Admiral. Humanity is returning to the galaxy, but this time we are not asking for permission." As if to emphasize her point, space around the Retribution began to shimmer and fold. Reality bent like liquid, and suddenly 1,000 more ships appeared around the defeated alien fleet. They were smaller than the Retribution, but they all shared the same dark hulls and impossible properties. Each one carried a crew of enhanced humans, and each one existed partially outside normal space-time. "One ship destroyed your fleet," Chen said as the new vessels took positions around the survivors. "We have built 10,000 ships. Humanity has had 300 years to prepare for this day. Did you really think we would build only one?" Admiral Kethmore felt his heart stop beating for several seconds. The sight of so many impossible vessels appearing from nowhere was more terrifying than any nightmare he had ever experienced. "Go home, Admiral," Captain Chen said gently. "Tell your people that humanity tried to be peaceful. Tell them we tried to live quietly in our own star system. But tell them also that they should never, ever try to cage us again." The human fleet began to disperse, each ship vanishing into folded space-time. Soon only the Retribution remained, hanging in the darkness like a promise of things to come. "The galaxy has been ruled by fear for too long," Chen's final message echoed through space. "That ends now." 6 months after the battle that destroyed the greatest fleet in galactic history, the Galactic Council chambers on Viridian Prime were quieter than they had been in centuries. Representatives from 47 species sat in their crystal seats, but none of them spoke above a whisper. Admiral Kethmore stood at the center of the Great Hall, delivering his report to beings who could barely comprehend what he was telling them. His 6 arms shook as he described the battle that had lasted less than 2 hours but changed everything. 12,000 ships, he said for the 3rd time, his voice barely audible. Gone. Not destroyed. Just edited out of existence. As if they had never been built at all. Ambassador Zephix, whose crystalline form had lost much of its shine since the battle, interrupted. "You must be mistaken. No single vessel could defeat an entire fleet. Perhaps your sensors malfunctioned." "The sensors worked perfectly," Kethmore replied. "I have recordings from 300 surviving ships. They all show the same impossible things. The human vessel exists in multiple places at once. It moves without crossing the space between points, and it treats our most advanced weapons like they are toys." The small voice of Ambassador Quillix buzzed nervously from her corner. "What about their technology? Were you able to analyze their ship?" "Our most advanced computers could not even properly perceive it," Kethmore said. Sometimes it appeared solid. Sometimes it seemed to be made of energy. Most of the time, our sensors could not detect it at all, even when it was destroying our vessels. The debate that followed was filled with fear and confusion. Species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia suddenly felt like children trying to understand adult concepts. Everything they thought they knew about physics, warfare, and the nature of reality had been proven wrong in a single battle. "Perhaps we should attempt diplomatic contact," suggested the representative from the plant networks. "Maybe the humans can be reasoned with." "They made their intentions clear," Kethmore replied. "The quarantine is over. They are returning to the galaxy, and they are not asking for our permission." As if summoned by his words, alarms began sounding throughout the Crystal Palace. Long-range sensors had detected something approaching Viridian Prime from the direction of human space. "How many ships?" Ambassador Zephyx demanded. "One," came the reply from the sensor station. "The same vessel that destroyed our fleet." On the great viewing screen at the center of the hall, the Retribution appeared as a dark shadow against the stars. It moved with the same impossible grace that had haunted Admiral Kethmore's nightmares for 6 months. Space itself seemed to bend around the vessel as it approached. "All defensive systems to maximum alert," Zephyx ordered. "Prepare for battle." But even as he spoke, a calm human voice filled the chamber. "There will be no battle today. I come to talk, not to fight." Captain Sarah Chen's image appeared on the viewing screen. Behind her, the bridge of the Retribution looked like something from a dream. Humans moved with fluid grace, their enhanced bodies working in perfect harmony with technology that seemed to respond to their thoughts. "I am requesting permission to transport to your chambers," Chen said. "I will come alone and unarmed." "Absolutely not," Zephyx replied. "You will remain on your vessel." Chen smiled, and there was something both sad and terrifying in that expression. "Ambassador, I was being polite by asking. I do not actually need your permission." Before anyone could respond, Chen simply appeared in the center of the council chamber. She had not used a transporter beam or walked through a door. One moment, the space was empty, and the next moment, she was standing there as if she had always been present. The alien representatives recoiled in terror. Several of them activated personal shields or reached for weapons. But Chen just stood there calmly, her hands empty and her expression peaceful. "How?" whispered Ambassador Quillix. "I exist partially outside normal space-time," Chen explained. "Moving from my ship to your chamber is just a matter of choosing to exist in a different location. Distance is a three-dimensional concept. It does not apply to beings who can perceive 11 dimensions." She looked around the chamber, taking in the fear and confusion on every alien face. "You are afraid of me. I understand that. 6 months ago, you sent 12,000 ships to destroy my species. Now you have learned that we cannot be destroyed by conventional means. Your fear is reasonable." "What do you want?" Zephyx demanded, his crystal form flickering with nervous energy. "I want you to understand what has changed," Chen replied. "For thousands of years, this galaxy has been ruled by the principle that might makes right. The strongest species dominated the weaker ones. The most advanced civilizations enslaved the primitive ones. Fear and violence were the tools of governance," she gestured to the assembled representatives. "You created a system where the only way to be safe was to be stronger than everyone else. And when you encountered humanity, a species that seemed weak and primitive, you decided to eliminate us before we could become a threat." "We were protecting galactic civilization," Zephyx protested. "You were protecting your own power," Chen corrected. "And in doing so, you created the very thing you feared. You forced humanity to become strong enough to protect itself from you." The truth of her words hung heavy in the chamber. Every species represented in the council had risen to power through conquest and domination. The weak had always served the strong, and the strong had always feared being replaced by something stronger. "But here is what you do not understand," Chen continued. Humanity did not just become stronger. We became something different. We learned that true strength is not the ability to destroy your enemies. It is the ability to protect those who cannot protect themselves. She activated a holographic projector that materialized from thin air. Images began appearing in the chamber, human ships appearing throughout the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as guardians. While you were debating what to do about us, we were already acting, Chen explained. Human vessels are now present in every star system where oppression exists. We are protecting primitive species from advanced predators. We are stopping wars before they can start. We are ending slavery wherever we find it. The images showed human ships intervening in conflicts across the galaxy. Species that had been fighting for generations were forced to negotiate. Slave ships found their captives mysteriously freed. Planets facing invasion discovered that their attackers had simply vanished. "You cannot do this!" Zephix shouted. "You have no authority. The Galactic Council governs this galaxy." Chen's expression hardened. The Galactic Council created a system based on fear and violence. That system ends now. We are not asking for your permission, and we are not seeking your approval. We are simply informing you of the new reality. She waved her hand, and new images appeared. They showed human ships dismantling weapons of mass destruction, shutting down slave markets, and providing aid to species that had been forgotten by galactic civilization. You built a galaxy where the only law was the law of the jungle, Chenny said, where the strong consumed the weak and called it progress. We are replacing that with something better. And what gives you the right? Demanded the representative from the gas giant collective. The same thing that gave you the right to quarantine us, Chen replied. Power. The difference is that we intend to use our power to protect rather than to dominate. In the corner of the chamber, the Voidwalker representative finally spoke. His voice was like the whisper of dying stars. We abstained from the vote to attack humanity because we recognized what they were becoming. We have watched the galaxy for eons, waiting for a species to make the evolutionary leap that humans have made. He stood up, his shadow-like form seeming to absorb light from the crystal walls. The age of domination is ending. The age of transcendence has begun. Humanity has shown us what intelligent species can become when they stop accepting limitations. Chen nodded respectfully to the ancient being. The Voidwalkers understand. Evolution is not just about biology. It is about consciousness itself. Humanity has evolved beyond the need to dominate others. We have learned that true security comes not from eliminating threats, but from eliminating the conditions that create threats. She turned back to the assembled council. You have a choice to make. You can accept the new reality and work with us to build a better galaxy, or you can resist and discover that your weapons are as useless against our purpose as they were against our ship. What kind of galaxy are you offering us? Asked Ambassador Quillix, her small voice filled with curiosity rather than fear. One where species are judged by their contributions rather than their power, Chen replied. One where the strong have a responsibility to help the weak grow stronger. One where diversity is celebrated rather than conquered. She activated her projector again, showing images of human ships working alongside alien crews, teaching them new technologies and helping them solve ancient problems. We are not your conquerors, she said. We are your partners in evolution. Every species in this galaxy has the potential to become what humanity has become. We are here to help you reach that potential. The chamber fell silent as the alien representatives tried to process what they were hearing. For millennia, they had lived in a galaxy where evolution meant the strong replacing the weak. Now they were being